What is up, everybody? Welcome to our Week 12 college football preview here on Not Here to Play School. Jake Micah, as always, joined by my brother, Alex Micah, who did not tweet for me to get traded to Buffalo Rumblings or any other news outlet here. We're staying here on Trainwreck Sports through and through. How you doing this week, Mo?
Man, get Micah out of there. Is that what I should say?
And if you did, I would have blown you up on all socials and been like, I do not believe this. Don't listen to my brother. Sorry, we're carrying some Stefon Diggs talk over into our college football thing. We'll cut that out. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting week in the college football world. We're in November.
Always
It's
interesting.
The best time of the season in November, first of all, at least for you get down to here and you never know what's going to happen with these teams who it's nut up or shut up time, honestly. And you learn a lot about the mettle of these teams and everything else. Michigan's been the biggest storyline of the college football world right now. So we'll get into some of them. Their talk, Jim Harbaugh is suspended for the rest of the season now. He will not be coaching this week against Maryland or next weekend against Ohio State in the game. So that'll be a big storyline going forward. But we have some big games this week too. And we're going to start out hot because the number one team in the country, we go through the top 12, which will be next year's playoff field. We go through the top 12 of the college football playoff rankings, but it was the AP poll that we'd go through.
Yeah.
And we're starting with number one team in the country with their biggest road test of the season, going to number 18 Tennessee, the Georgia Bulldogs, the new number one Georgia Bulldogs.
Is it really a test though? I know they're ranked 18, but
yes. How is it not a test? Let's start there. I mean, they did get destroyed by Missouri last week. Yeah. Don't get me wrong; it was a lackluster effort from Tennessee, but this is still 7-3 Tennessee. Let's look over at Tennessee quick. They don't really have a big win on the season, like a really signature win on the season. It could be Texas A&M, but Texas A&M just fired their head coach, so that really can't be considered a signature win. They lost by 14 to Bama, and as we mentioned, lost 36-7 last week to Missouri. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it isn't really a test, but we were looking to this game. They lost to
unranked Florida
rivalry game.
Sure. But they lost to Bama, they lost to Florida, and they got blown out by Missouri. I know it's at home, but I mean, no, they're not a very good team. Just in general.
They're only 10-point underdogs to the Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday, though. That's not a big spread. Not a big spread at all.
No, it isn't. But no, Georgia. I mean, Georgia just looks like they had the last 2 years. They just look like a well-oiled machine. Kirby Smart knows what he's doing. The defense is solid. The offense, like, obviously they're loaded with like talent because he's such a good recruiter too. But it's like guys that you wouldn't even like are just coming out of nowhere. Not even nowhere necessarily, but they're not like name brand players in college football. Like they don't have like a Marvin Harrison Jr. as one of their wide receivers. They have Brock Bowers, who's like the best tight end in the country, but he was missed the last few weeks. He played last week actually. He was back. I'm sure they'll be working him in before the SEC championship game, next couple games. But like their number one wide receiver is what, Ladd McConkey? Like who the fuck is Ladd McConkey? Like it's they're and like even their quarterback, like Carson Beck, like he was a touted prospect coming out, but they just find ways to win and they just look dominant. At this point in the season, they started out where they were like keeping teams close, and now they just look dominant and can run through anybody.
They have been rolling recently. They have, and they've looked like they found their stride. And you brought up Carson Beck. He's looked pretty good recently.
He is.
Like he definitely turned a corner.
Fifth in the Heisman odds right now.
Well, he shouldn't win the Heisman.
No,
there's no way he should win the Heisman.
But I'm just saying he's fifth in the narrative.
In
the narrative, he's up there.
This is a hot take from our boy Maniac. Austin Powers over Brock Bowers. How do you feel about that?
He said Austin Powers over Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
I'd go with that. That's not that hot of a take. I think that's
okay. Not hot at all. And he has a nuclear lock for Saturday, and it's not fading Georgia. Is it Georgia? I guess I don't know if we're gonna find out about this during the show or we're gonna find out on the weekend. But that's a great tease going forward. I would say that might be that Tennessee covers this game. I think Tennessee is going to cover in this. I think that this is their this is a shot for Georgia to really solidify, where they're going to be. Like this is their biggest test going forward. Like obviously until the SEC championship, but we've looked at this game all season long. It's why they put this game the second to last week of the season. We thought it would be a bigger matchup going forward. And I think Tennessee is going to be able to move the ball on Georgia a little bit like that. And I know they didn't last week. I think they were looking ahead to this game. I love to look ahead games, especially in college football. And Tennessee, this whole season's been leading to this point, and maybe they shouldn't have looked ahead of Missouri. Maybe they thought they were going to walk in there. Missouri, I think, just might be one of the best teams in the country. And that's just like what it is. You go to Missouri, it's hard to win a game there. So you got no faith in Tennessee.
They're getting respect like they're one of the best teams in the country. I mean, they're getting the respect as if they're one of the best teams in the country, Missouri.
Carson Beck is to the Heisman as Brock Purdy is to the MVP. Yeah. That's how I would feel if Carson Beck wins the Heisman this year. He has not been the most excellent.
Look at the narrative last year. Stetson Bennett was a Heisman finalist last year.
And I hated that too.
Not saying he deserved it. Saying he deserved it, but he was. And I'm just pointing out that currently fifth.
The point is
he's having a bad season. 3,100 yards passing.
I know, but our boy Jaden Daniels should be that favorite. He's been the excellent the whole season.
Which is ridiculous. He has had the single best game we've seen from any player at any position.
What is the Heisman rundown right now? Do you have it in front of you? Bo Nix, Broadway Bo. Bro, that's manifestation. That's manifestation if I've ever seen it. They put that shit in New York City, and now he's about to be the Heisman favorite. That's crazy. Keep going. Sorry.
He's minus 110. Michael Penix Jr. is plus 375. Jaden Daniels is plus 400. Marvin Harrison Jr. is plus 550. And then Carson Beck is fifth, but at plus 3,500.
I would have Marvin Harrison Jr. as my favorite if I was a Heisman voter.
I think if Jaden Daniels is the favorite. I don't think when we saw a couple years ago, what was it, 2020 is when Devontae Smith won the Heisman. Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't had nearly as good a season as Devontae Smith had to win that award.
Yes, but you're not comparing Kyle McCord to, I guess it was Mac Jones, but Kyle McCord isn't Mac. Yeah. Kyle McCord isn't.
We're saying Mac Jones is like this elite level quarterback.
Is Kyle McCord's not going to be a first round pick?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you never know what happens with Ohio State quarterbacks. Justin Fields probably shouldn't have been a first round pick, and here we are.
That's disrespectful. He definitely
I'm
should have
just
been a
saying.
first round. He should have
It's-
been
I-
number
if
2
CJ did
overall.
it.
What are we talking about?
Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a finalist, and he's going to be, good for him. He's going to get to be a finalist. He's not going to win. Jaden Daniels should win, probably won't win. Because Jaden Daniels has had the single best college football game we have seen all year. And he's had the stats to back it up. They look at the efficiency of him, he's 84% of that offense. If anyone is deserving of what
the only other 8-4 team, which they're 7-3 right now, the only other 8-4 Heisman winner I can remember in my lifetime is Lamar Jackson.
There's been 3. I think RG3 was one.
No, they were 11-1.
The year he won the Heisman?
Yeah.
Let me look it up.
But that's why Daniels is he Lamar Jackson? Because I don't think so. I love Jaden Daniels. I don't think he's Lamar Jackson.
Better.
Definitely not better. That's for sure.
I can't remember. I saw they showed.
That's my only thing with Daniels.
They showed this stat the other day because he was cooking, and they're like, "Oh man, maybe he should win." I can't remember.
Well,
who the other people are.
Let's move on to I'm gonna say Georgia 30, Tennessee 23.
So it's 10? Oh, you said 30 to 23.
Yeah.
No, Georgia 42 to 13.
Okay.
They're gonna blow them out.
Minnesota at Ohio State at my Heisman favorite Marvin Harrison Jr.'s hometown, home game,
Also
home stadium. It's their senior day. He's not a senior, but he's coming out. I'm sure he's going to get some kind of big ovation going on there. Does Minnesota have any chance in this game, or are we just shaping up to the game at this point?
No, they don't have any shot. They might not get. I mean, they're going to get blown out. They're 20-point underdogs, but it will be
27.5 point underdogs.
Oh, it's 27. Well, last time I looked, it was 20.5. I thought. That's pretty bad. No, they're gonna lose by probably 35. Minnesota's 5-5. They're not great. Their defense hasn't looked amazing this year, and that's kind of what you would hope, at least from a struggling offense that they have.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Ohio State's just rolling. It's all. I mean, it's the thing. The only thing you can kind of think might happen is Ohio State will be looking forward to next week when they're going to play Michigan, but they've been pretty easily taking care of business. Outside of a couple slip-ups, obviously Penn State, they only won by 8. But they were, the defense was dominant that entire game. Indiana, that game was close for part of the time, but they've gotten business figured out pretty well.
Minnesota this year.
Minnesota's just a tier below everybody else that they played.
Yeah, Minnesota this year has played 2 elite opponents that we would consider elite, at least early in the season. North Carolina, and I don't know about what happened in North Carolina. Fell apart a little bit, but 31-13 loss at North Carolina. And then they hosted Michigan and lost 52-10. So those are the Minnesota games against elite competition. That 27.5, though, Minnesota cover for Maniac, he says. It is a big spread.
It is a big spread, but
35. Could you see a 35-10 game? I could see something like that, and that's a cover for them, So depends how that Buckeye offense is clicking, because they've been, I don't want to say inconsistent, it isn't the right word, but they haven't had the big blowout offensive performances like years past. It's not like they're putting up 50 points every game. Even the last 4 games, 38-3, 35-16, 24-10, 20-12. They haven't cracked 40. So if Minnesota can, if we're talking about just straight covering, if Minnesota can just get a couple drives, they might cover that. But I think the Buckeyes,
I think it's more likely that Minnesota you would just hope that Minnesota's defense could stop them a couple times. I don't think Minnesota's offense is going to be able to move the ball against Ohio State.
Well, that's why I said one drive. That's all they need is one touchdown drive.
Yeah,
and then something else. Let's go to the other team.
Yeah.
The other team in the game next weekend, Michigan at Maryland. So Jim Harbaugh will be gone, suspended for 2 more games at least, potentially back for the Big Ten title if they win these next 2 or their bowl game, which who knows what that would be at this point. I'm sure a 1-loss Michigan, even against, if it's a 1-loss, it's a bunch of 1-loss teams, Michigan will have something to say in that 4th spot. But Michigan at Maryland this week, no question here what's going to happen. I think Michigan rolls Maryland. I think they run the ball down their throat the whole game. And really, they're just going to bully Maryland. Like, Maryland is never – they're never prepared for these matchups. It's a different class. And I feel like Michigan is going to just – they were angry. Like, it was a really tough offensive performance for both teams last week for Michigan and Penn State, especially the quarterback. I mean, J.J. McCarthy, he threw the ball 8 times?
Seven. I think he threw it an 8th time, but it was a pass interference, so it didn't count on the stats.
So Michigan, we know what they want to do. Like, they're just going to try to run the ball down your throat the whole time. Corum last week, 26 carries for 145 yards. 26 carries.
His most rushing yards he had all season.
And then Edwards chipped in 10 rushes for 52 yards too. So they are just going to run the ball down this Maryland team's throat. Mm-hmm. So let's give we're going to do our preview next week, I'm sure, for Michigan and Ohio State, but let's give a little bit of a taste right now. We got Michigan, Ohio. If these two teams win next week, where are you leaning for Ohio State, Michigan at the Big House?
Probably Michigan. I think, right as I sit right now, I think probably Michigan. Even though I don't think that any game they play should be allowed to count. I don't think they should be allowed to keep on playing in a season, even. I think
you can't do that to the kids. You can't just be like they can't play games.
They know that they've been stealing signs. They're the ones benefiting from it.
You're not punishing the children.
No. They're not children. They're 19, 20-year-olds.
I'm just saying. You would not
22 because he's a senior.
The players. You do not take away the players. You don't take away the players' games in this. That's not the way.
Anything that they have done, and if it allegedly that they have done proves to be true, then everything the last 3 years is they should all get vacated.
Well, that might happen, but
fuck those kids for working in this system. Fuck Harbaugh. Fuck the entire staff. They're all a bunch of bums. With that being said, they've been stealing signs all year. So they're going to be prepared for Ohio State. You think they stop stealing signs if they got caught? Allegedly.
Well, they're at least not sending guys into the stadium.
Maybe. We don't know. We don't know what they're doing.
Maybe.
This is a manifesto. You think he stopped because he got caught?
That's true. Yeah, he's probably more dedicated now, honestly.
It's in the Big House. J.J. McCarthy, as much as I don't think he's a good quarterback, I think he's Zach Wilson 2.0. Some team is going to draft him super high and be really disappointed. He even looks like Zach Wilson, honestly. It's kind of sad. Yeah. He's gonna get drafted super high randomly, but he's a better quarterback than McCord is. Their run game is better. They can just control the ball. Their defenses are pretty even. With Penn State are all top 3 in points per game. So they're just all really good defenses. But Michigan is slightly better. They're just gonna cause wreak havoc. Marvin Harrison Jr. might be a game breaker, but he wasn't the last 2 years against them. So I don't know what's suddenly going to change. And that was with a better quarterback. He had a better run.
I would argue he's better than he has been the last 2 years too.
I think he's better last year. Honestly, I think he was better last year than what he's been this year. His biggest games that he's had have been against scrub teams this year. Besides his one game against who they beat up. Last week was good. Who they play last week? I don't even remember. Northwestern.
Yeah.
So it was like whatever.
As
it sits right now, I would pick Michigan, especially because they're
Michigan State last week.
Michigan State. Oh, Michigan State's terrible. Yeah. They went 35 to 3.
38 to 3.
38 to 3. Yeah. And he had his first rushing touchdown in his career, and he had 2 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, they're playing shit teams. I don't know. I mean, the Big Ten.
Who was Michigan? Who has Michigan played all year?
Penn State was the only one, really.
Ohio State.
UNLV is nasty. They're 8-1. Their one loss is to Michigan. Or 9-1.
Ohio State handled Penn State too. Both those teams.
Yeah, they both got good defenses. Michigan's defense is the best of the 3.
I think that you're underselling the Ohio State run game too, with how effective they've been all year. TreVeyon Henderson and everything else.
They've had a better run game.
This is gonna be a low scoring Big Ten matchup. It's not gonna be like the offensive explosions we've seen the last couple of years from this game. And personally, I think that favors Ohio State this year.
No, I think the game's gonna be it's gonna be 42 to 30.
I don't think so. I don't know where you're seeing these teams getting 42 and 30 against each other.
It's gonna be sloppy with turnovers. Is the way it's gonna happen. It's gonna get sloppy. We're gonna see
I think it's just gonna be a bunch of punts.
We're gonna see defensive touchdowns and shit.
I think it's gonna be 6-3 at halftime. That's what I think this game's gonna be.
20-20 at halftime. That doesn't make sense. 21-20.
I don't know what teams you've been watching all year that think they're just going to come out and offensive explosion.
A rivalry game throws everything out the window. It doesn't matter.
And they've played close, low-scoring games before too. Even the game they went to overtime. Even the game they went to overtime a couple years ago, it was 24-24 going into overtime.
Yeah, that was 2016. That was 7 years ago.
That's not that long.
Very different teams. Very different teams than it was now.
I'm just saying I don't think these teams can put up a bunch of points against each other against these defenses. These offenses cannot keep up with these defenses in any way. And I think that Ohio State has the best player on the field. I think that's what I'm going to pick it comes down to because they're pretty even across the board. Everything about them, their defense is being strong, the quarterbacks we don't believe in, all those other things. I'm just going to pick the best player on the field. And that's still Marvin Harrison Jr. to me. What the hell? Oh, that's just top 5 games. It has been extremely high scoring since 2017 was 31-20, overtime 30-27, but the winner has scored at least 42 points in other of those games. So,
and these teams have had good defenses. It's a rivalry. It doesn't matter.
I'm still not picking Michigan. I don't think that. I think that seeing Michigan win 3 years in a row with the situation they're in right now would be really surprising to me.
I think this is the situation explains why they're going to win 3 years in a row. I think that's what
I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see it. That's why.
Which last week, I don't know if you caught it. Denied Dennis Sutton, the defensive end for Penn State. Did you see he got a tackle for loss on I think one of the running backs? I can't remember who. And did you see what he did to the Michigan sideline after?
No.
He went like that, like he had binoculars, and then he went like that, like he was writing it down after he tackled.
That's good.
It was good. It was really good. And then they lost. But
well, yeah, that Penn State doesn't belong in this conversation anymore. But I still don't think.
Well, sad state of affairs. So I was watching 1993 Penn State versus USC a couple days ago. It was on YouTube. It was cut together. So 30 years ago, they went 10-2. Their 2 losses. This is their first year in the Big Ten, by the way. Their 2 losses at Ohio State versus Michigan, back-to-back weeks.
Yeah,
undefeated the rest of the year.
It's what they're in the Big Ten for, is to push Ohio State and Michigan in a couple games.
It basically is. It's just a cycle. Time's a flat circle.
Well, time is a flat circle. Yeah, it's all these things come back around, and sometimes it just is what it is. That's why I think our boy Dan Lanning might try to get out of Oregon because he sees the cycle. What is Oregon going to do? Lose to Ohio State and Michigan most years.
They can't even win in the Pac-12.
Any thoughts on North Alabama, Florida State?
We don't need to talk about this game, I don't think. Florida State wins. Move on.
Washington at Oregon State. Weird things happen in Corvallis at night.
Yep.
There's no way Washington wins this game, bro. I don't see it. I think Oregon State's taking it. They own the Pac-2 now with Washington State, and they're going to celebrate by taking out Washington and ruining their undefeated season.
The judge saying he has faith so they can be the Pac-2 is wild. I love it. What time is this game at?
It's 7:30. It's ABC. So it's not actually. It's 4:30 in Corvallis.
It's
not really a night game.
Oregon State very narrowly is favorites by 1 point.
Yep.
It all depends on how healthy Penix is. If he can actually sling it or not. If he's, we've seen him the last few weeks take a little bit of a step back. He played really good against USC, but USC's defense is terrible. Who they played last week? He didn't put up amazing stats.
Washington?
Yeah.
Against Utah, which, Utah
is... Yeah, Utah's got a solid defense.
And he had 332 yards and 2 touchdowns. So
yeah. I don't know. It'll all be on his shoulders. I mean, they have a good offense. Roma Dunes is a great wide receiver. We were talking about that. We want the Bills to draft him among like the 7 names we threw out. I think he's a better quarterback than DJ Ugo Ugalele.
He is.
I know. If this game was 10:30 in Corvallis, then that'd be scary. It was 10:30 Eastern.
I think it's still scary.
Oh, it's gonna be close. I mean,
their last night game was
gonna come down to like the last play of the game, last drive of the game.
They hosted Utah and beat them 21-7 earlier in the year. They've beaten UCLA. Their losses are to Arizona, who is 7-3.
They're
ranked 17th in the country. So yeah, it's a good loss. And then to Washington State, 38-35. So they really are like
it's not a good loss because Washington State's 4-6.
Not a great loss, no. But Washington State at the time was Washington State 4-6?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Why? That's crazy. But
they started out
hot. I thought 6-4. My dyslexia kicked in. I was like, damn.
No, 4-6.
Yeah, but earlier in the season they were better. They were ranked at that time when they lost to them. I see it happening. I feel it.
I'm still gonna stick with. As crazy as it is to say, I'm still gonna stick with Michael Penix.
I don't think this Washington team's good enough to go undefeated in the regular season. I think with one of these 2 games they're going to slip up, and I'm going to pick this one.
I mean, this one would be the more likely one again than besides like hosting the Apple Cup. I mean, they haven't lost to Washington State in like 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's who wants the Northwest Classic more. That's what it really comes down to. That's all it is. Who wants it more?
The battle between all 4 of them.
Yeah, Washington beat Oregon. Then they play Washington State next week. They play Oregon State this week. Oregon State already beat Washington State. They play Oregon next week. So it's these last 2 weeks. It's really gritty.
The last Civil War too next week will be. Well, I don't know if it's actually the last one, but
I don't know. They don't call it Civil War anymore, which is lame. But
I don't. Whatever. We don't listen to what the people tell us to call these things. No,
that's why we still say Red River Shootout.
Exactly. I got Oregon State. I think it's set up perfectly.
I'm still picking Washington because I don't want I don't want Ohio State and Michigan both getting into the playoff like they did last year. So I want as many undefeated teams as possible. So I'm sticking Washington.
This is breaking news, not to do with any wrestling at all, from our Ty-B. Marty Scurll returning up in AAA next week. I'm not surprised as a Mexican wrestling promotion is taking on some questionable talent. It's happened before. It'll happen again.
That's interesting. They haven't. That's the first time he hasn't really wrestled in the U.S. in a long time. He was wrestling down in the Caribbean for a while.
It is crazy. It makes sense, I guess. If AEW is working with CMLL now, then AAA is feeling a little more frisky with who they need to bring in.
Marty Scurll's going to probably be the champion within like 2 weeks in AAA.
Ty says he sent us the promo. We will check that out as soon as we can. We got a couple games left to go through, but really this is like not a great slate of games this week, which makes me think there's going to be some absolute chaos that happens.
There's a couple fun ones. I mean, like outside of the top, I'll get to it at the end. There's a game outside the top 12 that's really fun.
Oregon at Arizona State.
I
got Oregon taking this, but again, I think Oregon could lose next week to Oregon State too.
Yeah, Arizona State is scrappy. We saw them get really play really solid against USC. Not the same level of like defense, obviously, that Oregon has. I guess if he's the favorite now, Bo Nix needs to come out and show out these next 2 weeks to try to kind of solidify that position. It's kind of crazy how loaded up the Pac-12 is. And it's last year that the top 2 guys are both Heisman finalists. Are going to be Heisman finalists. This is kind of like he needs to like kind of put a statement on here. And what better way to do it than against a not good Arizona State team? This is a couple years ago, though, this same position, Oregon up here at 6, and they lost to an Arizona State team at Arizona State, Justin Herbert, and it ruined their season.
That's true.
So, you never know what could happen.
Listen, honestly, I'm with it because I do not believe Bo Nix should be the Heisman favorite right now. It's still wild to me. He's
playing well. He shouldn't be the Heisman favorite, and I don't know. I also just don't trust Oregon.
I don't understand how he's the favorite. If the Heisman is, it's an MVP trophy, it's a narrative-driven trophy, all these things. Why is the narrative for the country that Oregon's actually better than Washington when they lost to them, because that's what it
They
feels like.
lost on a missed field goal.
And it would have tied the game.
I know, and would have sent it to.
And they still lost. Like the game happened. We watched it, and there's nothing in that game. Watching that game, it felt pretty even to me. It wasn't. I didn't come away with that game like, oh man, Oregon got screwed. They're so much better than Washington. They should have won this game. There was nothing in that game, but somehow we've just continually disrespected Washington, or not we, but just like it seems like the committee just has Oregon looming, waiting for Washington to slip up.
It's the Nike money.
Maybe it is the Nike money. I don't know. It's crazy to me though. I guess maybe I'm getting too worked up about it because they're not ranked over them, but I feel like Penix should be the favorite over Bo Nix still.
I do too. I still think it should be Penix. I think he's well. I mean, really, no. I still don't think. I think it should be Jaden Daniels. If it's not Jaden Daniels, it should be Penix. Because what Penix has done, like, is just a pure.
That's why I was shocked that it was Bo Nix number one, because he does not seem like he should be the first guy that you mention when you think of the Heisman rank.
No, I don't even know. I'm not even sure where they rank. Let me look at the Pac-12 quick. So obviously it's going to be Penix top for yards, right? Yeah, Penix is number one for yards in the Pac-12. Bo Nix is fourth with 400 less yards passing.
And Bo Nix has one more passing touchdown than Penix.
He has one more.
One more, 29-28, and Jaden Daniels leads the country with 30.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe it's an interception thing. It's like the Aaron Rodgers thing. Oh, he's only thrown 2 picks the entire year.
I guess.
Let's give him back-to-back MVPs because he doesn't throw picks.
I've got a couple other theories, but I'm not going to dispel them on this podcast right now. I mean, that's my main theory, to be honest.
I mean, I don't know if you can. I mean,
who are the other 2 quarterbacks that we're talking about, and then who are we talking about here?
Yeah, but I mean, who won it last year? Who was he before Bryce Young? Who won the Heisman last year? Caleb Williams, and then Bryce Young, and then
I understand that. That's why
there's a history here of.
That's why I think he's the favorite now.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to, yes, and he was also a player who transferred from the SEC. So a lot of SEC writers, all those Southern people know him, familiar with Bo Nix. I'm just saying that's where I really think we're getting into.
Usually you see the West Coast, bias against the West Coast, because it's people.
But when you got both the guys in the West Coast, I guess.
I know it's like I'm not staying up that late to watch these guys play.
That's facts. Those are Big Ten teams now, though, so this is a different world.
That's true. It's true.
It's a different world. Texas at Iowa State. Texas had a scare last week. They were up 20. I turned the game off. I said, all right, Texas is going to roll in this game. And then all of a sudden I saw a text from you that said, Texas is about to blow this. I'm like, oh, shit. So I turned it back on, see them ice the game with a beautiful Quinn Ewers deep ball, which just love to see that on the execution there to get out of there with a win. But it's a rivalry game. It's a night game at TCU. TCU really, like, that was them playing, like, trying to just have something to feel good about this season with beating Texas and ruining their national title hopes.
It's like the second team that was a national championship runner-up or winner.
Yeah, they're going to be one of the only teams to finish under 500 that went to the national title last year. It's but this Iowa State game is even trickier, I think. Iowa State, how tough it is to go to Ames. They're still in contention for the Big 12, I believe. Because Texas is 6-1, and then there's the 5-2 mashup of Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Iowa State, Kansas State. So this is a huge game for Iowa State. A huge. They're 6-4 overall. They slipped up to Ohio, losing in Athens 10-7.
It was very early,
and they lost to Iowa 20-13. Letting up 20 points to Iowa is crazy. They let up 50 to Oklahoma at Oklahoma, but they've got. And then they've lost to Kansas as well. But beating BYU, beating Cincinnati, beating TCU, they've beaten up, I feel like, on...
Those are weaker teams.
And Baylor, they've beaten up on... Yeah, exactly.
Those are the bad teams in the Big 12 this year, yeah.
And so
the good ones.
I feel like Texas is a class ahead. They're a 7.5-point favorite. It's a night game in Ames. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere, but I just think this Texas team has been... Texas, the last 2 weeks, should have won both these games like 45-20 or something. And then they get ahead and they're just like, we're just
Honestly,
we're
you
gonna
can say
cruise.
3 out of the last 4 weeks, and you can put it back to the game where they were up 21-0 against Houston, and then they ended up winning that game 31-24 because Quinn got hurt. And then Houston worked their way back in that game. And it was at Houston. They battled back. And then TCU, or the BYU, they beat 35-6. Then, Kansas State, which a ranked Kansas State team, and it was with, it's only the second career start for Malik Murphy. Quinn Ewers was still hurt. They battled back. They won. Defense, saved them. And then last week, Quinn was back, but you could tell he was rusty. He was making some really good throws, and then he would make some boneheaded plays.
The biggest thing is Brooks that tore an ACL, the injury. Like going forward, it's the biggest thing. I still think this team can reach all their goals, reach a playoff, potentially win a national title, but it's a huge blow without him. Do you think that they can make up for it though in that running back position? Because the running back room's loaded. Don't get us.
It still is good. I mean, CJ. I guess I don't think they should try to do like a running back by committee at all. Like stick with CJ Baxter. He's been the second best guy that they've had in that run. So they should just run with him and then only give it maybe to Jaden Blue a couple times a game, but not a lot. I think you just got to go with CJ Baxter. I think, and then this kind of shows the receiving core has to step up a little bit, help out the team. Like obviously, Jatavion Sanders is a great tight end. He's a Mackey semifinalist. And you have Worthy and Adonai Mitchell, who are both probably going to be all Big 12 guys at least. Yep. And pretty high picks this year in some capacity, maybe a first, maybe high seconds. So they have the talent still on that offense that they should be fine. It's obviously Jonathan Brooks was having an amazing year. It sucks. He was playing at maybe an All-American level, pretty close to. So that's a tough loss for them. And
he was probably going to be a high pick, and I don't know if he's going to be.
Well, I don't think he's coming out though. He's only a sophomore.
I think he's a redshirt sophomore.
I don't know.
Either way, it's sad to see him out. He was explosive. He's one of the most exciting backs to watch in the country.
Yeah, coming off of last year with Bijan winning Doak Walker and having one of the best seasons, consensus All-American, and then just running it back basically with Jonathan Brooks, putting up almost the same numbers that Bijan was. It's tough, but no, I think their defense is going to take care of business. Honestly, too, the Texas defense has looked great the last few weeks. I mean, these teams have battled back a little bit, but it's not like it's been shootouts where it's 45-40. It's the offense stalled out in the 20s, and the defense, let up 24. But it's also sometimes on short fields, because they're giving the ball away. Malik Murphy against Kansas had 2 picks and a fumble.
Yep.
So, or Kansas State. So no, I think Texas will win. It'll be a rough game, but as long as Quinn is got his head on his shoulders, and him saying that he's coming back next year, or at least he didn't say it officially, but that it's leaning that way, I think it's just kind of solidifying his position there.
Arch is transferring.
Probably. What I mean, he couldn't get the job over Malik Murphy.
I know. It's just crazy. Well, maybe Malik transfers. Actually, who knows?
Maybe.
But one of them is.
I mean, Arch is going to get redshirted no matter what. So
it's true. It's true. And Malik's had the game, so he's probably maybe it will just set up perfectly. But I imagine one of them's transferring if Quinn Ewers stays.
Oh, probably.
I guess Quinn Ewers, if he stays, he's the number 1 prospect probably in 2025.
Him or Shedeur?
I would assume. Shedor's going to come out, I think.
Is he? It's a loaded quarterback draft.
But I think he's pretty. I don't know if he should stay there with that offensive line again, though.
Yeah, that's
true. Not like their line's going to get better.
Yeah, unless they.
And he's pretty safely the 3rd guy. He'll be a top 10.
To Ohio State.
Well, when Deion gets the Texas A&M job, that's probably where he's going to transfer. So
is Deion going to leave? He's leaving Colorado already.
He was never long for Colorado.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't, if you're A&M, why wouldn't you call Deion?
That's true.
Let him go recruit in Texas.
What are the other open jobs right now? Mississippi State. Mississippi State.
I would rather be in A&M.
Yeah. I don't even know what else.
Michigan State.
I guess, yeah. Northwestern is running with that dude.
If Dan Lanning does leave for A&M, Oregon, he goes to the Big Ten with Oregon.
Big Ten? No, he probably
gets that Nike money though. All those resources. I could see Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I guess he wants that Nike money. If he wants that Nike money, we'll see. I don't know. I'm going under the assumption that Shedeur is staying, though. I didn't think he was going to be leaving because it's such a loaded quarterback draft that he's gonna and like not that he
It's
isn't.
not as loaded as it was a couple months ago, though. Like people are dropping on Drake and Caleb. All the
Yeah, but you know
people's
the narrative is
opinions on
going to
them
flip
are.
back around by the combine and stuff, and it's going to be like, oh my
You're right.
god,
Drake May is going to be the number 1 overall pick, is what I think is going to end up happening.
probably. But you know it's going to flip back around. They're going to be like, Drake May has 14-inch hands and he's 6'5" and can do this, and then it's going to be.
I
bad.
still think
Caleb's
Shedor's still a top 10 pick though if he comes out this year.
I don't know
Because there's the Bears. Well, I don't know if the Bears are going to pick a quarterback yet. It remains to be seen. Depends on they're going to have a new coach and a new GM, and Jim Harbaugh might hate Justin Fields when he gets hired there. So who knows what's going to that was today. Also, the rumors Harbaugh was getting looked at by Washington and Chicago are interested in Jim Harbaugh if he were to leave Michigan. So he's been waiting for an NFL thing. So we'll see about that.
The right spot, maybe.
Yeah.
So JJ McCarthy, is he going to be is this what's going to happen? Is he going to go to the Bears? They're going to have the first overall pick. He's going to take JJ McCarthy.
No, I don't think that he could ever do that. Why is JJ McCarthy a first round prospect? When did this happen? Have they not watched him play football for 2 years?
He was in top 3 in Heisman voting within the last month, within the last 2 weeks.
For what?
He's got a really high completion percentage. And
oh my god!
And there's you know why. You know.
I know, but do we watch these games?
No.
How is he a draft prospect?
He can't watch all the games.
I just don't
know, kind of.
He's
not watching all the tape.
It was the same thing with Mac. How is this guy a first round quarterback prospect?
Yeah,
McCorkle. Well, yeah.
What's JJ McCarthy's real name? I gotta look it up. I don't know what it is.
Probably John Jason.
It might be. What is it?
John Jason McCarthy. That's my guess.
Jonathan James.
Damn. No, if Harbaugh picks JJ McCarthy first, this town there might be no Bears left.
But that's the thing. It's Caleb Williams, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Quinn. He's probably
Shedeur clears JJ. JJ McCarthy does not matter to Shedeur.
I'm just saying. Riley Leonard was ranked 20 before
he's better. He's better than all these guys.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't know if he's better than Caleb Williams.
Well, no. I mean, anybody Caleb and Drake may be in a class of their own, but I don't know what Caleb Williams is going to look like in the NFL, man. That dude just runs around like crazy. And how many of these Oklahoma quarterbacks, we're talking about Ohio State quarterbacks, the last 2 Oklahoma quarterbacks have not been superstars. Kyler had a couple really good years there, but he also had DeAndre Hopkins at the peak of his powers. And he also had a league that wasn't, was still getting tape on him and everything. He did look good last week. Hurts. See, I guess, what do we count Hurts as? Is he an Alabama quarterback? Is he an Oklahoma quarterback? He had his best year with Alabama or with Oklahoma. With Oklahoma,
he's a Heisman finalist at Oklahoma. He is an SEC graduate, I believe. So he might count himself. He probably counts himself as both, I would assume.
This is getting too confusing.
He was a Heisman finalist at Oklahoma and made the college football. I mean, he made the college football playoff with both teams, but
I think Hurts was the same guy. He wasn't any different than he was at Bama. It was just a better offense for him. Bama never designed the offense around Jalen Hurts. They tried to turn Jalen into a passer, just a full on and that's why they wanted Tua. That's why Lane wanted to throw Tua out there. He's like, this guy can run my high powered spread offense that I want to run, and we saw how it turned out with Tua, and he was perfect for that, and he's perfect for that scheme that he's in now. But Jalen is perfect in his high school football scheme that he's in now.
True.
So
Tua couldn't win the Natty in a full season though, so he's kind of a fraud.
Well, they are frauds. I'm just saying about Caleb in general.
Mel Kiper has Shedeur 5 right now on his big board. He's the 3rd quarterback. So
yeah, but Caleb is not like everybody wanted to call him, your favorite word, generational, and all these other things. I just don't see it with Caleb. I
No.
don't.
We throw around generational too much.
I don't see it with Caleb. I don't see it with all three of them. I feel like this is more like this is gonna sound disrespectful, but I don't mean it disrespectfully because all these guys could end up better than these two. But this feels like the Wentz Goff drafts, where we're gonna convince these guys that they're number one picks, and they really all should be like 5 to 10 picks, like all three of them. I don't think any one of these guys is worth the number one overall pick, truthfully. But someone's gonna pick them number one overall.
Like the 2017 draft.
That too. Exactly. That's a better overall. No, that's a much better comparison. Like we had like these four guys who everybody was like, oh man, you can't miss picking any one of these guys. Like they're all going to be really good. And we've had one of them who's good. And he was the guy that everybody was like, there's no way this guy turns out to be a star. So maybe it is JJ McCarthy then. Who fucking knows?
JJ McCarthy, the next Patrick Mahomes? That's what you're saying now? You wish yourself around to it?
Or 2018, and JJ McCarthy is Josh Allen.
I think he's more. JJ McCarthy's more of a Josh Rosen, I think, than anything else.
Yes, I agree.
Well, in this scenario, then
Caleb is Patrick Mahomes. Apparently that's what that was the rumor that everybody, or not the rumor, but that was the comparison everybody wanted to make the last couple of years.
Well, you saw Drew Allaire's comp was Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes all together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's tough. I had Chattanooga and Bama as our next game.
Bama. Jalen Milroe also has come on, though.
I do want to talk about this. As we predicted, we talked a little bit early about the game. If Georgia gets by Tennessee this week and Bama gets by Auburn next week, we already have the SEC title game. It's going to be Georgia and Bama no matter what. But that will be a pretty much, depending on how the season goes, could be a college football playoff quarterfinal, essentially.
Yeah.
I think Bama beats them. I really just think this Georgia team they are going to get picked off. I don't think they're winning the national title this year. I don't think that they.
No, I mean
they've come on. They've come on stronger the last month or so, but the cracks have been there throughout the season, where I feel like a team with the right performance on the right day can really not even just beat them, but beat up on them. And the way this Bama is rolling the way you want to see a team rolling in November. They looked obviously shaky. They had the loss earlier to Texas. And people were like, man, what could that loss look like? What's this Texas team really going to look like all year? And Texas is one of the national title contenders.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. The way Jalen Milroe has played the last few weeks, last week he was the first Alabama quarterback ever to have 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game. We're talking about all these different. We're talking about Caleb. We're talking about Shooter to an extent. We're talking about Jay Daniels, double threat, or dual threat guys. He's in that same boat. The way he's been playing, he can run the ball so well, and his accuracy isn't there, but he has a great arm, or at least a pretty solid arm. It's interesting. It's possible. I mean, that game would be real. The way that the offense has been the last few weeks, it's going to be real, unstoppable object versus immovable, or unstoppable force versus immovable object. The SEC championship game is going to be fun to watch between those two teams, especially if it's 12-0 Georgia and 11-1 Bama. You can't ask for a better game besides the MAC championship game, which is 11-1 Toledo and 10-2 Miami of Ohio, which that's pretty elite right there.
Well, I'll be locked in for the MAC championship game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm looking forward to the most. All right, let's power through the rest of these games here. We've got number 9 Missouri hosting Florida. Mizzou, the surprise of the season, really. The fact that they are up here. Obviously not going to be in the SEC title game, but they're going to be a New Year's Six bowl team as long as they get through the next couple games. Can Florida push them at all?
No, I
don't think so. The way we saw Tennessee play, and I know Florida beat Tennessee, but the way we saw that game go out, I feel like this Missouri team is just locked in on another level.
Yeah, I think it's just Mizzou. Brady Cook's playing really well.
He is.
It's just all around they're a pretty well built team. And they haven't had missteps. I mean, they lost to Georgia. Like that was, what's their other loss for the season?
What was it? Mizzou. It was a dumb game, I think. LSU.
Yeah. So, it was not super high scoring LSU game.
Yeah.
Against Jane Daniels, who was playing out of his mind. So no, their two losses are like, I mean, that game could be more down to a defensive thing. They're not. I don't think they're going to lose to Graham Mertz in Florida. I think that's a win for Mizzou.
I think so too. I think in Mizzou, it's just they've been so fun to watch this year too. Like it's been a joy.
Yeah,
to watch.
their game against Michigan or not Michigan State, Kansas State was awesome earlier this year.
So who are they? So wait, the playoff bowls are the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, right?
Yeah,
so they'd probably be a Fiesta Bowl team or a Cotton Bowl team.
Cotton or Peach.
Oh, Peach Bowl, that's right.
Yeah.
So maybe Missouri and Louisville.
Penn State.
Oh, see, I saw Penn State in Tulane the other day.
That's also possible. The last time I looked, it was when Ole Miss was in the same spot. They were ranked like 9. It was Penn State and Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl.
Gotcha.
For the Big Ten SEC matchup there. But
I would love Missouri against Washington or Oregon, whoever loses the Pac-12 title game. I think that's really what I would love to see. But Missouri, like that game's, no matter who they play in bowl season, that's going to be one of the best bowl games, no matter what, because Missouri has just been electric all year.
Yeah,
they deserve this top 10 ranking. If there's no way they can really make the playoff unless there was like extreme chaos, but this is a team where next year, any of the haters of the 12-team playoff, this is a team who benefits the most from the 12-team playoff, because if they rolled in as the 9 seed or the 8 seed into the 12-team, no one wants to play Missouri, and I'd probably pick them to upset some teams because the way they look, they can play with the big boys as much as anything else,
they can for sure.
Let's go to. We got a couple games left. Louisville at Miami. Miami fell apart down the stretch here. Louisville is going to play Florida State in the ACC title game.
Oh, is that confirmed?
Yes, believe so now.
I didn't see that they were officially in. They're not officially in yet.
Oh, I thought they were.
No,
who is left then? UNC?
Let me look. Maybe UNC, but they don't play Louisville at all. So maybe after this game, if Louisville wins, then they're in.
Yeah. That seems right.
We
don't have all our tiebreakers. There's too many conferences for us to keep up with the tiebreakers, people. There's
basically if Louisville wins one more game, they're just in.
Yeah, well, they're 6-1, yeah, so they would have to.
Yeah.
And then this is their last conference game. They play Kentucky next week, which is a little bit of a tricky game, but this is a Louisville team, man. Hey, if they win and then they beat Florida State in the ACC title game, that's a 12-1 conference champion. They could be in that national title playoff conversation.
Very possible, and that would be awesome. I think no matter what, they're destined for the Orange Bowl. Seems like,
yeah,
at the minimum, which is pretty awesome. Good for Louisville, honestly. Like they're reaching levels that Lamar never even really took them to.
Well, Bobby Petrino did though.
Yeah,
he just knows what he's doing.
Yeah. No, good for Louisville. They're a fun team to watch too, and besides honestly, them and Missouri have been the 2 surprises of the year, and they're ranked 9 and 10. Let's get them against each other. Can we do that?
Oh,
let's have them play each other. That would be fun.
That would be fun.
That's the Cotton Bowl. Just at large versus at large. Louisville, Missouri. That would be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Jeff Brom going back there, he obviously did good work at Purdue, but going back to his alma mater and got them rolling like this, it's pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a fun year for Louisville. Yeah, I would love that Louisville Missouri game. All right, let's wrap it up here. We got Rutgers at Penn State. It's going to be a win. It's going to be a win.
Yeah, that's going to be a win.
But Penn State, no one's happy about this Penn State team. They fired their offensive coordinator this week for good reason.
Bills and Penn State, both firing their offensive coordinators.
They're because James Franklin and Sean McDermott share a brain.
I told you at least James Franklin is an offensive background.
It's the conservativeness that really sends it home for me
more
than anything.
My thing with James Franklin is that he loses the conservativeness in the dumbest moments.
Yes.
Like a few years ago against Michigan.
So, same with McDermott. He does a 0 blitz on the last play of the game.
Yeah.
They're the same coach. They really are. That's what makes it so frustrating to watch on Saturdays and Sundays in these big games. Penn State just, I don't know, man. Unless Allaire this year, you hope that this is the learning year he needed to go into next year and really like take over the reins. But they did no favors to help him. The receivers, apparently the receivers just, on the message boards, there's stuff about how the receivers were not preparing properly and not
watching film.
Not watching film. They have not got separation all year. There's a lot of people that watch the film that are like, man, this Penn State offense is like not doing any favors for Drew Allaire. And that's terrible to see because, you're wasting a top tier talent at quarterback. Yeah. And so hopefully
just like a Drake May, just a big
either way, it should have been better than it was this year, all year long. Like the kid, you can see all the talent that he has. And if he's just seeing nothing and he's not a guy that likes to take a lot of chances, and I think he does need to up his risk profile a little bit, but he's still like, it never should have been this bad. But they should still handle Rutgers and Michigan State and be 10-2 and be a New Year's Six team. And next year they'll be a playoff team in this position.
Yeah.
So
they'll go 10-2 again. Next week that's the fun game on Friday
that's right, and in Detroit.
In Detroit, neutral site game against Michigan State for the Land Grant Trophy.
Yep.
I don't know. It sucks. They're just gonna go 10-2 again, and then they're gonna get they're either gonna get the Cotton Bowl or the Peach Bowl or the Orange Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl.
That doesn't suck.
No, I love having the New Year's Six Bowl. That's awesome to me. Still, it just is like of what could have happened this year. It's just like the sliding doors moment is like this sucks.
Well, I don't think it could have happened. There's still Michigan, Ohio State. Penn State.
It sucks that they have 2 first-round defensive picks and a top 5 offensive tackle, and that they're going to be gone. That's what sucks to me.
Well, yeah, and next year it gets harder, but maybe that helps them because maybe Ohio State loses to a USC earlier on, or Michigan loses to an Oregon or something like that. It's going to be an interesting year in the Big Ten because that top half actually has competition, and we don't have these stupid divisions anymore. So the championship game will actually be an interesting matchup because this year, what are we sizing up for? Ohio State or Michigan versus Iowa again? Like, no one wants to see that. No one wants to watch that.
Iowa fans do. Kirk Ferentz just keeps on getting
I was going to say, he's been racking up these conference championship game appearances. No more. No. So what was the game you wanted to talk about quick before we go?
Kansas State, Kansas. Ranked matchup for both teams. Just fun rivalry. 21 Kansas State at 25 Kansas, both 7-3. Both have had pretty good seasons. It's just that's just a fun rivalry game that's gonna happen.
That will be a good game.
Yeah, that's just something to look out for. Kansas is down to their third string quarterback, which is rough. But
Utah and Arizona, also another ranked matchup this week.
Mm-hmm.
1-point favorites for Arizona right now, both 7-3 as well, battling for some Pac-12 rankings.
Kansas State is 9.5-point favorites on the road, but I think that's because Kansas's quarterback is hurt.
Yeah. That doesn't matter to Kansas. Kansas will roll backup quarterbacks out there and just they've done it, I feel like, for 3 years now. Like, their quarterback will get hurt, and then the backup comes in and just lights it up.
Yeah.
So I got no doubts in Kansas' ability to pull off upsets, that's for sure, especially with Lance Leipold there. I think Utah beats Arizona, though. I think Utah.
Yeah, probably Utah.
It'd be hard for me to pick Utah to lose back-to-back weeks in 3 and 4 games. So, yeah, give me the Utes.
2:30. That's a weird start time.
It is a weird start time, especially. I guess Arizona daylight savings time gone, so it's actually 12:30.
Yeah.
Instead of 11:30. That weird state. All right, we'll write it an hour, Mo. I feel like we're good. That was good. Perfect. We are still not here to play school. Especially, it's got to be Thanksgiving break. No one's going to be playing school or anything. But thank you all for joining. Next week, rivalry week, will be the best episode we've had so far. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of big games, especially when we get to Ohio State, Michigan, number 2 versus number 3, which it's going to be crazy atmosphere in Ann Arbor. That's for sure.
I'm gonna be throwing out random rivalry names to you next week. You got to tell me who's in it.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, folks.